Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Chris Van Wessep, and I look after worldwide product marketing for Microsoft Azure Stack. We thought today would be a good time to spend a little bit more time with all of you to pull back the curtain a little bit and share some more insights about how the development of Azure Stack is coming along. And so to do that, I'm joined today by Vijay Tiwari, who is a group program manager in the Azure Stack engineering team. Vijay, welcome.
Hi Chris, thank you so much for inviting me here. So my name is Vijay Tiwari. I run the team that is responsible for developing the infrastructure management software that allows customers to manage Azure Stack in their data center. I'm also responsible for fostering the hardware ecosystem on the platforms on which Azure Stack will operate. And lastly, I'm also responsible for the existing cloud solution that we have out there called Microsoft Cloud Platform System.
Great. So as you can see, a really exciting person to have with us today. And I thought it'd be a good place to start by talking a little bit about the product itself. So everybody out there knows that Azure Stack is really about enabling customers or partners to deliver Azure services from their data center and not just from the Microsoft data center. But when you think about it from an engineering perspective, what are the big things you guys are trying to solve for in terms of engineering challenges?
So the first and foremost thing, we keep using the term Azure Stack is Azure in your data center. And I think that's a very, very profound statement. What we are really taking is, Azure that runs in the massive scale that we have in Microsoft. And we are trying to shrink wrap that and give it to you as customers so you can basically operate Azure services out of your data center on hardware and systems that run in your data center. And that means that we have to take, for example, a single cluster in Azure is about 880 servers. We have to shrink wrap that and make it runnable on a scale that's valuable to you as customers. We have to give you the keys so you can then administer Azure Stack, just as the thousands of engineers that we have who operate Azure Stack for us in our data centers. So you as customers can then operate Azure in your data centers with all the qualities that go along with it, with the rapid innovation that comes along with Azure.
So no small challenges, you can imagine, but pretty exciting things to work on. And at WPC, our Worldwide Partner Conference a few weeks ago in July, one of the announcements we made that was as we bring Azure Stack to market, we would first be delivering it via integrated systems with our partners Dell, HPE, and Lenovo. So the term integrated system gets bantered around quite a bit in the industry today. Can you give us a little bit of perspective from an engineering point of view as to what it really means to deliver and enable an integrated system?
Sure. So I think before I venture into what an integrated system means for customers, I think it's important to understand that we in Microsoft are probably running the world's largest integrated system, Azure. Azure is an integrated system in that we very strictly control what hardware we run on. We do all the validation end-to-end to make sure that the software runs operationally correct on that particular hardware, so we can then be efficient when it comes to operating our data centers. Now, when you translate that into what needs to happen in the context of customers, we need to bring that operational efficiency, we need to bring that operational stability, and we need to bring that performance to customers when we bring Azure to their data centers. So from our perspective, an integrated system is basically a validated system which starts from all the way from the hardware and all the way to the services that run on top of that hardware, so that they are validated together, so that they are patched together, and so that they remain in cohesion while the system is operational for the customer. Makes sense.
Now, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here because maybe if I was a customer and I say, look, I've got a lot of hardware, a lot of existing hardware, a lot of good hardware. And candidly, I prefer Dell for my servers. I like my Equalogic storage. I like my Cisco switches. Why can't I just use what I've got and pull that together and make my own Azure Stack?
I think the first thing we have to help customers realize that Azure Stack is a new product. Right? It is not a conglomeration of existing products as we have seen in the past. It is a brand new product, and along with it comes a responsibility that Microsoft has to keep the operational lifecycle of that product valid for customers. And when I mean operational lifecycle, for us it means that the entire product needs to be updated at the pace at which we need to keep it updated for Azure services to land on top of Azure Stack. And what that means is, Azure, as iterates very, very rapidly. Services are coming all the way, new services are being emerging all the time. Existing services are being updated at very, very rapid paces. And we need to have that entire approach workable even in customers' data center. So from our perspective, we need hardware that we know well of, where we know what version of the firmware needs to run on the disks, on the HBAs, on every single aspect of the system, so that we can keep it operational and robust for the services that land on top of that. That is not feasible on systems that we have never seen before, because the variety of systems that people have in the data centers is huge. So for a new product, as we go out of the door, our goal is to help customers be successful, and we can do that with a smaller scale of systems that we start with originally. And then over time, as we learn from customers, as we get more feedback, we'll be able to expand the diversity of hardware that we run on, and eventually maybe even allow customers to run on existing hardware that they have. But we have to start with systems that are well engineered, that are fully validated between us and our partners, so we can really provide that robust experience so customers can be successful with Azure Stack as we go out of the door.
Yeah, and I suppose the reality here is that we're trying to optimize more for end user productivity as quickly and as consistently as we can, as opposed to small tweaks here or there on the storage or the network or things like that. It's about making the developers productive quickly and consistently.
That's exactly right. In fact, customers should look at Azure Stack not as an infrastructure play, but it's really about bringing the developer services to customers in their environment. And for that, it means us, from Microsoft, developing a solution with our partners so that the underlying hardware and the updates that go along with it become almost a zero concern for customers. And they can really focus their attention on the value that Azure brings to them in their data centers.
Makes sense. Let me take it a step farther, though, because I could say, well, why don't you just give me the bill of materials? Tell me exactly what the components are and let me go source them, and then I'll pull it together and make my own stack. Why wouldn't that work?
I think, as an initial start, that might work. But remember, I talked about, bringing the innovation of Azure at a rapid pace to customers' premises. Now, if you take our existing solution like Microsoft Cloud Platform System, we actually update that solution on a monthly basis. We're going to need to do that with Azure Stack. And therefore, we need a system where we have this continuous validation of all the firmware, all the software payload, not just initially, but subsequently as the system gets revved up, we provide that validated and updated and orchestrated update manner to our customers. Remember, with Azure Stack, it's a full lifecycle product. That means we don't just give you the product and then give you the updates and leave it to you as an exercise to apply those updates. We actually do the validation of those updates, and then we give you an orchestrated manner to apply those updates, which range all the way from firmware all the way to all the Azure services on top, so that they get updated in a manner that your tenant workloads don't go down. We'll update all the infrastructure management capabilities, we'll update all the firmware in such a manner that your tenant workloads don't go down while this update is taking place. And we have to do this at a very rapid pace.
So yeah, really getting to the place where the tenant doesn't see any disruption of services, even though all this churn may be happening under the covers.
Right. Now, initially when we start, we'll start being able to update the core infrastructure services. We'll update the compute RP, the storage RP, the networking RP, and all such infrastructure services. And then over time, we'll get better and better to be able to update more parts of the stack as well.
Got it. The last question I may have as a customer is, I've got a general inclination that integrated systems tend to be a little bit more pricey than things. If I could build it myself, I could probably save some money there. Is that not the case that I should be thinking about?
That's a good question, and many customers ask us that question. And I think we've got to realize that when we are building this hardware-software solution for customers, first and foremost, we are using industry standard servers. It's not that these servers have some very high specification or sometimes as people refer to as gold-plated hardware. It isn't that hardware. The second thing I'd encourage people to understand that it is about the total cost of ownership of the system as opposed to just looking at the initial capital cost. By virtue of us and our partners taking on the responsibility of keeping the system up so that it is operational for you, customers will spend a lot less time in doing the validation that they're currently used to having, are used to doing in the context of systems. And so in that sense, customers will actually get a much better operational cost with the entire system that we are building, as opposed to trying to build it themselves. The last thing is, for us, we want to make sure that customers can start at a scale that it makes sense to them. And for that, the smallest Azure Stack production system will start at just 4 physical servers. Now that's a very small system. And then you can build up and scale up to a point that makes sense for you as a customer. So it'll start small at 4 and then build up from there to the requirement that customers need.
Got it. And so it's about how quickly people can be productive and then how much they can stay productive through the operations of that system.
And we'll start at a scale point that makes sense for the customer so that they can then incrementally add capacity as the demands grow from their perspective.
Great. Well, this was really helpful. Thank you for the time today. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Your feedback is always important to us, and what I would encourage everybody to do is go check out User Voice for Azure Stack. We've got the URL posted, and give us more feedback. We really do appreciate it, and we'll check back in with everybody real soon.
Sure, and I'd also encourage people, if you must come to Ignite. We are going to actually have the hardware and software available for you to actually come and take a look, and come and talk to us, and we'd be happy to share more details with you at Ignite when you come down there.
Great point. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.